The stranger's ring. She was trembling when she said, yes, not out of love, not even fear, but because her family's future now rested in the hands of a man she'd met just 10 minutes ago. Sophia adjusted the thin silver ring he had just placed on her finger. Her eyes darted to her mother, lying unconscious in the hospital bed, and her little brother sitting quietly in the corner with a half-eaten bag of chips, not knowing they'd lost everything. Their house, their savings, their father, all gone in less than a year, and now she had married a stranger. His name was Adrian Cole, tall, well-dressed, cold eyes, and a voice like he'd done this before. "Sign here," he said, sliding a paper toward her like it was a simple transaction, but it wasn't just a contract. It was a marriage certificate. Sophia signed it with a trembling hand. A nurse passed by without even glancing at them. Everything about this moment felt unreal, not romantic, not hopeful, just survival. 2 weeks earlier, Sofia Alvarez, 26, had forgotten what sleep felt like. She worked at a bakery in the mornings, serving coffee and cinnamon rolls to strangers with better lives. At night, she cleaned motel rooms, scrubbing out the mess others left behind. Her life was a silent battle, and no one seemed to notice. Her mother had been diagnosed with advanced stage cancer, and the bills were piling up like bricks on her chest. Her teenage brother Mateo still had school, and she was determined to protect his future, even if it cost her everything. Their father had vanished 3 years ago after a failed business deal. One day he left the house and never came back. No calls, no letters, just silence. Debt collectors were now knocking on the door every week. The hospital had given them until the end of the month to clear the pending bills. They were out of time. She had tried everything: online fundraising, asking friends, local churches, government help. Nothing worked. Until one night, a man in a black suit walked into the motel lobby where she worked the evening shift. He didn't ask for a room. He didn't smile. He simply said, "Are you Sofia Alvarez?" Her heart skipped. "Yes, why?" "My employer would like to speak with you, privately." He handed her a card. It had no logo, no title, just a name, Adrian Cole, and a number. She stared at the card for hours that night, flipping it over and over, wondering if it was a joke or something worse. In the end, desperation won. She called. The offer. The next evening, she met Adrian Cole in a glass office on the 40th floor of a downtown tower. The room smelled like leather and power. He didn't offer her coffee, he didn't smile. "I know about your mother's condition, your brother, your debts," he said, looking her straight in the eye. "I can solve all of it." Instantly, Sophia said nothing. She just stared, her lips parting in confusion. "There's one condition," he continued, folding his hands. "You marry me." Her breath caught in her throat. "What? Why?" He didn't blink. "That's not important. You'll live in my house. You'll act as my wife in public. I'll cover your expenses. 1 year. After that, you walk away with enough money to start over." She thought he was insane or dangerous, but then she remembered the hospital calling again, saying her mother needed another scan they couldn't afford. That night, Sophia didn't sleep. The next morning, her mom collapsed in the kitchen. Sophia made the choice. She called him and said 2 words: "I'll do it, the marriage." They were married in a courthouse. No guests, no vows, no joy. Adrian wore a crisp navy suit. Sophia wore the plainest white dress she could afford. After the ceremony, he handed her a new phone and a set of house keys. "You'll be living in the guest wing," he said. "You'll have access to the kitchen, library, and garden, but there are rooms you are not allowed to enter, ever." The mansion was cold, not just in temperature, but in spirit. The walls were white, the furniture untouched, no family pictures, no warmth. The only sign of life came at night. That's when she heard it. Footsteps, light, soft ones, like those of a child. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but it happened. Again the next night. Always at the same time, 2:03 a.m., the discovery curiosity crept into her bones. Who else lived here? One night she followed the sound down a long corridor she hadn't explored yet. The hallway was dimly lit, and cold air seeped through a vent. Above, she reached the door where the sound had stopped. It was slightly open. Inside, she saw a pale little girl in a faded pink nightgown, standing silently in the center of the room. Her dark hair was tangled, her face blank. She looked about 7 and strangely familiar. Sophia stepped forward. "Hey, are you—" A voice behind her snapped like a whip. "I told you not to go near that room." She turned sharply. Adrian was standing there, his face expressionless, but he wasn't alone. Next to him was a man with a deep scar across his cheek, holding something in his hand. It was her locket, the one she had lost weeks ago at the hospital. She had told no one about it. Her throat tightened. Who was this man, and how did he have something so personal? The girl in the room stepped back and closed the door. The girl. No one spoke. About. The door shut with a soft click. Sophia stared at it, her pulse hammering in her throat. That little girl. Who was she? Why hadn't Adrian ever mentioned her? And then there was the scarred man, still holding her lost locket like it meant something to him. How did you get that? Sophia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The man said nothing. He looked at her for a long, uncomfortable second, then handed the locket to Adrian. Without a word, he turned and disappeared down the hallway. Adrian slid the locket into his coat pocket like it was nothing. "You shouldn't have come here," he said quietly, not angry, just cold. Sophia opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. The questions were heavy on her tongue. Why was a child living in the house? Why was no one allowed to mention her? Why was her locket, something she had dropped weeks ago at a completely different place, now in the hands of a stranger? Adrian stared at her for a few seconds more, then said, "Get some sleep," and walked away. Sophia stood frozen in the hallway long after he left. The next day by morning, it was as if the night before had never happened. Adrian left early, as usual. The housekeeper, Margaret, arrived and stocked the kitchen, humming to herself like nothing in the world was strange. When Sophia asked her carefully about the girl, Margaret's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, avoiding eye contact. "No children live here," Sophia tried again. "The little girl in the hallway last night, I saw her." Margaret froze for a moment, then forced a polite smile. "You must have been dreaming. This house plays tricks on the tired mind. Try to rest, dear." Then she left, faster than usual. Sophia wandered through the house the rest of the day. She opened rooms she hadn't dared touch before. Guest rooms, a dusty study, an unused dining hall, but not the 3 locked doors. Those remained sealed, untouched, heavy. She passed the same hallway again, the one where the girl had appeared. This time, something new caught her eye. Scratched lightly into the wooden frame of the closed door were 3 words. "Don't trust him." Her heart thudded. The photo later that evening, she returned to her room and searched through her suitcase for the one photo she always carried. Her mother, her brother Matteo, and herself, sitting on the beach before everything went wrong. She stopped. There, at the bottom of her bag, was something that hadn't been there before. A photo, an old, faded one. It was of a woman holding a baby. And standing next to her was Adrian. He was younger, smiling, but it wasn't the smile that disturbed her. It was the fact that the woman in the photo looked exactly like Sophia, almost identical. She turned the photo over. Something was scrawled on the back in delicate, shaky handwriting. "She never left. She became you." Her breath caught. The walls of the room felt like they were shrinking. Who was this woman? And why did she look so much like her? Confrontation. That night, Sophia didn't wait for Adrian to leave. She waited in the grand room where he sometimes read. though she'd never seen him actually turn a page. When he entered, his tie loosened and face tired, she stood up with the photo in hand. "Who is this woman?" she asked, voice tight. Adrian glanced at the photo, and for the first time since she met him, his expression cracked, only slightly. But enough. He took the photo and stared at it silently. "Where did you find this?" "In my bag," she said. "I didn't put it there." Adrian exhaled slowly, like something heavy sat on his chest. "That woman was my wife," Sophia blinked. "Was? She died. Years ago, in this house." Sophia's skin crawled. "And the girl?" she pressed. "The one I saw?" Adrian's eyes flicked toward the dark hallway behind her. "My daughter," he said flatly. "But she's not real anymore. She died with her mother." Sophia shook her head. "No, I saw her. I spoke to her." "You think you did," Adrian said, turning away. "Grief does strange things to people. So does this house." That night at 2:03 a.m., the footsteps came again, soft, measured, like before. But this time, Sophia didn't follow them. She waited. The footsteps paused outside her door. She held her breath. A gentle knock, then a child's whisper. "Help me." Sophia sprang out of bed and threw open the door. Nothing. The hallway was empty, but lying on the floor was something small, a piece of torn fabric, a sleeve, tiny, child-sized, with the same floral pattern the little girl had been wearing. Sophia picked it up and noticed something strange, blood along the edge. Her hands trembled. Before she could step back inside, she heard a voice down the hall. Not Adrian's, not the child's. It was the scarred man, whispering, "You're not her, but he thinks you are, and that's dangerous." Sophia froze. When she turned to look, the hallway was empty again. She wasn't meant to know. Sophia couldn't sleep. Not after what she heard, not after the child's whisper outside her door. "Help me." Not after the scarred man's warning, "You're not her, but he thinks you are, and that's dangerous." Her heart was pounding. Her thoughts were racing. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that little girl's face. Pale, scared, silent. Adrian said she was dead. But dead people don't knock, and they certainly don't whisper for help. The next morning, Sophia knew she couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. Adrian had left early again, and the housekeeper, Margaret, arrived just before 10 a.m. as usual. Sophia tried once more to speak to her. "Margaret," she said gently, "please, I know there's something you're not telling me. That child I saw, she's real, isn't she?" Margaret paused, her hands trembling as she placed dishes on the counter. She didn't answer, not right away. Then softly, without turning around, she said, "Don't go looking for things that don't want to be found." Sophia stepped closer. "But I already saw her." The old woman's face tightened. "Then I suggest you pretend you didn't." Sophia frowned. "Why? What is this place?" Margaret turned to her now, eyes full of something Sophia hadn't seen before. "Fear. You don't know who he really is, dear, and if you did, you'd run." Before Sophia could respond, Margaret picked up her bag and walked out. She didn't say goodbye. She never came back. The locked door, that evening, when the house was completely silent, Sophia did the one thing she swore she wouldn't. She tried the locked door again. The one with the message carved into the frame, "Don't trust him." 2. Her surprise, the doorknob turned. She pushed it open. Inside, dust floated in the golden light pouring through a half-covered window. Old furniture was stacked in the corners, and the air smelled like forgotten memories. In the center of the room stood a covered mirror, large and antique. She pulled the sheet away slowly. What she saw made her gasp. It was a wedding photo, but not hers. It was Adrian, dressed in the same suit he wore at their wedding. Standing beside him was a woman who looked exactly like Sophia. Her hair, her eyes, even her smile. It was like looking at an older version of herself, only this woman's eyes didn't look hopeful. They looked trapped. On the back of the frame, someone had carved into the wood with a knife. "He makes you become her." Uncovering her name, Sophia ran back to her room, heart racing. She searched online for anything connected to Adrian Cole, his name, his wife, his child. Most results led nowhere. His name was too common, his records too clean, until she found an old obituary. From 9 years ago, Lena Cole, 29, found dead in her home. Survived by her husband Adrian Cole and their 5-year-old daughter Elsie. Sophia stared at the screen. Lena, the name written on the back of the photo. The woman in the mirror. She looked exactly like her. The resemblance was no coincidence. And Elsie. That was the name of the little girl haunting the halls, but the death was labeled an accident. No foul play, no investigation, just a quiet burial and then silence. But something about the article felt off, like it had been cleaned up. Confronting the scarred man that night, Sophia waited in the hallway. At exactly 2:03 a.m., she heard the now familiar footsteps. But it wasn't the little girl this time. It was him. The scarred man. She stepped out and blocked his path. "I want answers," she said firmly. She said, "I know about Lena, I know about Elsie, and I know they didn't just die." The man didn't flinch. "You weren't supposed to find that photo." "Why do I look like her?" Sophia demanded. He sighed and leaned against the wall. "Because he chose you. He always chooses women who look like Lena. You're not the first." Her blood ran cold. "What do you mean, not the first?" "There were 2 before you. One disappeared 6 months after the wedding. The other lasted nearly a year. Both looked just like her, just like you." Sophia felt her knees weaken. "Why?" she whispered. The scarred man looked at her with pity. "He can't let her go. He thinks if he finds the perfect copy, he can bring her back. Start again. But it always falls apart." "And the little girl?" Sophia asked, barely holding it together. He paused, then said softly, "That's not her ghost. That's what's left of her. She never left the house. No one knows where she is." Sophia gasped. "Are you saying she's still alive?" He didn't answer, just turned and disappeared into the shadows. The basement. Sophia barely slept. The next morning, with Adrian away, she went to the one place she hadn't dared explore, the basement. It was hidden behind a bookshelf in the study. She had noticed a strange draft near the back wall days ago. Now she pushed against the shelf, and it moved. Behind it, stone stairs descending into darkness. She grabbed a flashlight and went down. The air grew colder with each step. The walls were damp. And then she saw it, a locked steel door, next to it a keypad. She reached for it, not sure what she was even doing, when a whisper froze her in place. "Sophia." The voice was high, trembling, and real, a child's voice from the other side of the door. "Please help me." Behind the steel door, Sophia's breath caught. The whisper was real, a child's voice, trembling and soft, from behind the steel door. "Please, help me." She dropped to her knees, pressing her ear against the cold metal. "Elsie," she whispered. Silence, then a faint sob. Not a ghost, not an illusion, a living child, crying. Sophia stood, her hands shaking. The keypad blinked with a red light. Locked. No clue about the code, no time to waste. She ran upstairs and grabbed the wedding photo from the hidden room, the one of Adrian and Lena. On the back was the name Lena and a date carved into the wood, 12:08:15. Could it be the code? She raced back down, entered 12085 into the keypad, beep. Green light. The door clicked. Heart hammering, Sophia pushed it open. The hidden room. The smell hit her first, damp concrete, rust, and something faintly metallic. The room beyond the steel. Dotto was small, no windows, just one flickering overhead light, and in the corner, huddled on a stained mattress, was a little girl, thin, pale, curled into herself. Elsie. She looked up slowly. Her face was dirty, her eyes huge and afraid, but alive. Sophia dropped to her knees. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The child stared at her, confused, then whispered, "You look like Mama." Sophia swallowed the lump in her throat. "I'm not her, but I'm here now. I'm going to get you out." Elsie stood on shaky legs and walked to her, clutching Sophia's, and like it was the only solid thing left in the world. "Does he know you're here?" the child asked. Sophia's stomach twisted. "No," she said, "and he's not going to." Footsteps. They made it to the top of the basement stairs when Sophia froze. Footsteps. Heavy, measured, calm. Adrian was home. Too soon. Earlier than usual, Sophia grabbed Elsie's hand and pulled her into the kitchen pantry. She closed the door gently, holding her breath. They could hear him moving through the house. He wasn't calling her name. He wasn't in a rush, just walking calmly, like he already knew. Elsie pressed her face into Sophia's side. Sophia hugged her tightly, whispering, "We'll get out." She waited until the footsteps faded upstairs, then moved fast. She and Elsie crept to the back entrance, but when Sophia reached for the handle, she froze. It was chained shut, trapped. She tried the front door, the windows, the garage, all locked from the outside. No keys, no exits. Her phone, gone. She had left it upstairs on the nightstand. Elsie tugged her sleeve. "He won't let us leave." Sophia turned to her. "Why did he lock you down there?" Elsie's voice dropped. "Because I saw what he did to Mama." Sophia knelt beside her. "What did you see?" Elsie's eyes filled with tears. "He hurt her. She cried. She begged. And then she stopped." Sophia's skin went cold. "He said she left," Elsie whispered, "but he made her leave." The diary back upstairs. Sophia made a bold move. She went into Adrian's study, a place she'd never dared enter without him. Inside, everything was perfect, organized, cold, but behind a stack of old ledgers in his drawer, she found it, a leather-bound diary. Not Adrian's, Lena's. The first few pages were normal. Grocery lists, appointments, notes about Elsie, but toward the end the entries shifted. "Adrian watches me sleep now. He says I remind him of his mother. I never met her. He locks the door when I bathe. I told Margaret. She pretended not to hear me. I think he's trying to make me forget who I am. And finally, if something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. Please, someone find Elsie." Sophia couldn't breathe. She turned to Elsie, who had followed quietly into the room. "You were right," Sophia whispered. "He lied about everything." The little girl nodded. "He's going to do the same to you. The confrontation just..." Then the door creaked open. Adrian stood there, calm, smiling. "I see you've been busy," he said, his voice soft but sharp. Sophia held Elsie behind her. "You locked your daughter in a basement. You lied about your wife. You lied about everything." He chuckled. "No, I protected what was left." "You kidnapped a child." Adrian stepped closer. "She's mine." "You killed her mother." Something in his smile cracked. "Lena was weak. She broke. I just ended her pain." Sophia's voice trembled with rage. "You were going to do the same to me." Adrian's eyes darkened. "You were perfect. I thought maybe this time we could fix what broke. I gave you everything, and now you betray me." He stepped closer. Sophia reached into her coat pocket. She had kept something just in case. The taser she'd taken from the emergency kit in the basement wall. She didn't think. She pressed it into his chest and pulled the trigger. Adrian dropped to the floor. Sophia grabbed Elsie's hand and ran. Escape. With Adrian unconscious, Sophia snatched her phone from the bedroom and dialed the police with shaking fingers. Then she found a crowbar in the garage and broke the chain on the back door. They ran through the rain-soaked backyard, down the long gravel road. Blue and red lights appeared over the hill. Police. Finally. Sophia collapsed into the arms of an officer, holding Elsie tight, crying. It was over, or so she thought, because when she looked back at the house one last time, Adrian was no longer on the floor. Nowhere is safe. Sophia sat in the back of the police car, drenched and shaking, holding Elsie tightly. She had never cried like that before, not when her father lost his job, not even when she agreed to marry a stranger, to save her family. But now she cried from something deeper, from horror, from truth, from the moment she realized the man she married was a killer. Adrian Cole, respected businessman, secret monster, and still missing. The investigation begins. Detectives arrived within the hour. They combed through the mansion, sealed off rooms, dusted for prints. They found the basement, the mattress, the steel door, the diary, but they didn't find Adrian. "He's gone," one officer muttered. "Disappeared into the woods before we arrived. He'll—" "Come back," Sophia whispered, arms wrapped protectively around Elsie. "He always does." For the next 2 hours, they kept Sophia and Elsie at the local police station. She told them everything, from the arranged marriage to the locked room, the photo of Lena, the whispering child, and the journal. It all sounded too bizarre to be real, but Elsie confirmed it. Her quiet, trembling voice matched Sophia's story. The girl was underweight, traumatized, but alert. She clung to Sophia like she was her lifeline. "She saved me," Elsie whispered. "She's not my mum, but she didn't leave me." Protective custody. By morning, Sophia and Elsie were moved to a safe house, a small cottage 2 towns over. A female officer named Harper was assigned to watch them 24/7. The doors were locked, the windows sealed. Still, Sophia didn't sleep. "Do you think he's still watching us?" Elsie asked one night. Sophia looked out the window into the woods. "Behind the house, I don't know," she admitted. "But I won't let him hurt you again." Elsie snuggled closer. "I used to dream someone would come for me. Mama said someone always does eventually. I just didn't think she'd look like her." Sophia smiled through the sadness. "Maybe you were dreaming of me." The letter 3 days later, an envelope arrived. No stamp, no return address, just her name on the front. Sophia. Officer Harper opened it first, just in case. Inside was a note, handwritten in black ink. "You were supposed to save me, not destroy. Me, she was weak, but you had fire. You could have been different. You've taken her. You've taken everything. I'm coming to get it back." Sophia's hands trembled. "He's watching," she whispered. "He knows where we are." Police swept the area again, doubled patrols. But there were no sightings, no fingerprints, no security footage. Adrian was like a ghost now. And ghosts didn't leave trails. A twist in the past. That night, unable to sleep, Sophia looked deeper into Adrian's background. Something was still bothering her. The fact that he chose women who looked like Lena, and that diary entry. "He says I remind him of his mother. I never met her." Sophia searched public records. His parents, his childhood. What she found made her go cold. Adrian's mother, Margaret Louise Cole. Margaret, the housekeeper. She was his mother the whole time, and she knew what he was doing. Sophia remembered how Margaret once whispered, "Don't go looking for things that don't want to be found." She had known. She had enabled him, a voice in the dark. The next night, just after 3 a.m., Sophia heard a creak, a slow, deliberate creak from the front porch. She rushed to Elsie's room. The girl was sleeping peacefully. Sophia grabbed the panic button on the nightstand. It alerted Officer Harper instantly. Harper burst into the hallway, gun drawn, but no one was there, only a doll. It was left at the front door, an old, worn doll with matted hair. A child's name scratched into the foot. Sophia's knees buckled. "It's hers," she whispered. "It was hers when I found her." They checked the security cameras again. Nothing. It was like he walked through shadows. Elsie's secret. The following afternoon, Elsie sat in Sophia's lap, sketching something with crayons. Sophia noticed the drawing. A house, a girl in the window, and a man standing in the woods. That's him, Elsie said. He used to just stand there at night, watching. Did he ever talk to you? Sophia asked. Elsie hesitated. He said if I left, he'd find me. No matter where. I went, that I belonged to him, just like Mama did. Sophia held her tighter. You don't belong to him, not anymore. Tears welled up in Elsie's eyes. What if he takes you too? Sophia kissed her head. He won't, I promise. But promises felt weak when shadows were creeping in again. The return on the 5th. Night, all security measures were in place. Officers stationed outside, locks checked, panic buttons armed. Still, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling. She stood in the kitchen, staring at the back window. Rain pelted the glass. Then she saw it. Silhouette, standing at the tree line, still watching, her heart dropped. She backed away slowly. Before she could scream, the power went out. Darkness swallowed the house. Sophia grabbed Elsie, whispered to Harper, "He's here!" And from somewhere in the blackness of the hallway came a voice they hadn't heard. In days, you were supposed to stay. Her final promise. The house was silent. No power, no lights, only darkness and his voice. You were supposed to stay. Sophia clutched Elsie to her chest, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Officer Harper stood beside her, flashlight raised, gun drawn, moving slowly toward the sound. The hallway stretched before them, black and quiet, every shadow a possible threat, and then a crash, glass shattering in the kitchen. Harper moved. "Stay here," she whispered urgently to Sophia, but Sophia couldn't stay, not this time. She had run enough. She turned to Elsie. "Get in the closet, lock the door. Don't come out until you hear my voice, just mine." Elsie's lip quivered, but she nodded. "Promise?" "I promise." The breaking point, Sophia moved down the hallway, gripping the heavy flashlight Harper had handed her earlier. As she stepped into the kitchen, she saw the broken window, rain pouring in, the wind howled. Curtains flapped like ghosts, but no sign of Adrian. Then a whisper, right behind her, "You could have been perfect." She turned. Too late. Adrian lunged from the dark, knocking her to the floor. The flashlight skidded across the tiles. He pinned her with unnatural strength, eyes wild. "I gave you everything," he shouted, "and you destroyed it, just like she did, just like my mother said." Sophia struggled beneath him, her breath ragged. "You killed her," she screamed. "She was weak, just like Lena, just like them all. But not you. You could have been different." Sophia reached for the flashlight, her fingers brushing it, but Adrian slammed her wrist to the ground. "Elsie isn't yours," she spat. "She was never hers either," he growled. "She was always mine." Justice, in the dark, suddenly, a shot rang out. Adrian's body jerked. He collapsed off her. Sophia gasped for air, rolling away. Harper stood in the doorway, gun smoking, rain dripping from her jacket. "I told you to—" "Stay back," she said. Adrian groaned, blood seeping from his shoulder. "Stay down," Harper ordered, cuffing him fast, but Adrian was laughing, a soft, chilling laugh. "You think this ends it? You think cages hold men like me?" Harper tightened the cuffs with a jerk. "They hold dead men too, and if you move again, you'll find out which one you'll be." Sophia didn't speak, she just stared at him. This man, this stranger she had married. He had almost destroyed her. Almost. The healing Adrian was arrested, charged with kidnapping, child endangerment, domestic abuse, and the murder of Lena Cole. He never confessed, but Lena's diary, Elsie's testimony, and the hidden room told the story clearly enough. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Margaret, the housekeeper, his mother, disappeared before she could be questioned. Police suspected she fled the country. Sophia refused to follow the trial in the media. She focused on Elsie. The little girl stayed in protective custody for months, undergoing therapy, adjusting to the world outside the basement. She had night terrors, wouldn't speak some days, but Sophia stayed by her side. A new life. It took nearly a year before Sophia could breathe again. She filed for annulment. The court approved it, along with a restraining order, even though Adrian was in prison. But something else happened during that time. Elsie stopped calling her the lady and started calling her Mimi. "I don't remember Mama's face," she said one morning while eating pancakes, "but when I tried to picture her, I think she looked like you." Sophia teared up. They had formed something unspoken, deeper than blood. Bound not by what was lost, but what they chose to build. The final visit, 2 years later, Sophia received a letter from the prison. Adrian wanted to see her, just once. She debated for days, unsure, but she needed closure. Not for him, for herself. She arrived in a secured visitor room, heart steady. Adrian looked thinner, older, but his eyes were still sharp. "You look strong," he said. "Did you come to thank me?" "For what?" "For waking you up. Without me, you'd still be someone else's puppet." Sophia stared. "You didn't wake me up, you showed me darkness. And I chose not to stay there." Adrian smirked. "So you're the hero now?" She leaned in. "No, I'm the survivor, and she is too. And every time you rot in here, you'll know that we're out there, living, laughing, free." She stood, and calm and tall. "You thought I was yours. You were wrong." Then she left and never looked back. A quiet victory back home. Elsie ran into her arms. Sophia twirled her, smiling. The sun was out. Flowers bloomed in the window. They were baking cookies. A normal day. "I had a dream last night," Elsie said. "He was gone, and we were at the beach." "What were we doing?" "Laughing. Just laughing." Sophia held her close. "Sometimes life doesn't give you the story you expected. Sometimes it gives you a storm and someone to protect in the middle of it. And if you're lucky, you survive it. Not just alive, but stronger than before." The end.